So I'm going to talk a little bit about the compulsive behavior and schoolwork and some famously actable for components in the city. So how much does it interfere with your daily functioning? How much time does it take from your daily activity? And there can be people who engage in obsessions and compulsions and OCD is stuck in these obsessions and compulsions for all the ways they talk. And people who have and just get these intrusive thoughts, they're not just sitting because they're compulsive. There's actually a term, it's called get out. And it stands for pure obsession. It's just a misdemeanor. And a misdemeanor, I don't know. So we see the person understanding the obsessions that they're experiencing. However, with the fears that they have, engaging in a lot of mental calculations. What does a philosopher want to do? The fear is not being apathy and figuring out the truth and what the person with pure elf engagements has as a theorist. The fear that the world is not connecting and quantifiably engaging. So figuring all these figures and figure eights, the smaller and bigger infinities and miracles that have the hats and constantly intellectualizing, they're constantly repeating certain thoughts and concerts. They're trying to get at the truth and assert their dominance. They're conceding to the reality that there's no certainty and they're not like people with OCDs that are obtaining that certainty through the artistic means and measures. And some people have the thought and don't act out on it compulsively because compulsion is any type of escape or safety and restraint. So if a person with PRO gets into the position where a higher level of education is required, they might seek insurance with Reso and they might avoid the advertising gigs and with that uncertainty move into a worse position than they were in before that. And if I go set it and kick it, then I doesn't mean I have that OCD compulsion to nag. A person with OCD has a font in their third eye and doesn't know what that means about them. Why they would have such a thought. Why anyone would have such a verbal uh, sort of diarrhea manifest in the moment because they're trapped in that confusion. When a person believes that having font is gonna dissolve the illusion, they have to remember that a thought is a thought, and that's just that. That's just how it doesn't mean any elf on the shelf beating up arm and purgatory. I've never thought that, and or like kicking the 10 meters and ticket them on the OCD belief and the thought and the need and the acne, that horrible thing, spectane. So all kinds of doctors and their doctrines really moving into have just and the gestures and the behaviors on the coding back end. So one thing or two in their understanding, such and such, the power of understanding the bull and the matador. And I'm ingesting the air, the purifying my lungs, and being cognitive in the moment. And these people who have that anxiety and OCD, they're being compassionate and insistent that 3 hours a day is a good chunk of time to just intellectually understand it. And it doesn't translate into an emotional belief, and therefore their behavior, it's a therapy part, a more important component for treatment that behavior therapies provide to the patients. And that feedback that you're paying for is immeasurable on the human plane because this is fine. This is how we're hanging out and purchasing. The purchasing power is there. And we recognize how a person, the real one, is stuck repeating the certain behaviors and Al is in the tin. Good examples of that are Thor going in, washing, and sticky parts being cleaned, the surfaces for certainty, and detaching the food contamination, the reverbing, and pat time tea. So those kinds of obsessive thoughts, the body language, and they're the last ones getting out of the house in the morning because they're performing a performative act that's getting their friends into the zone, and out of the fear of embarrassment, sticking it to them and questioning if it's immoral of them to do such a thing. So that's where the space is, and you won't be irritable ever again. You'll just recognize that that's fate and Utah, and this finding your group of favor on Discord or on Clubhouse or the CDA, and the way it works in this direct way through the pantry, through the skin diseases. It's really good.